Hello and welcome to Sports Today. India making the series 1-1, celebrating Ishan Kishan, and of course Virat Kohli's, back come back to form with a match-winning innings. Importantly, the women will have to win the fifth one because it's important for their sake. So, what can they do going into the game on the 20th? Because that's a critical and important game as far as the women's team is concerned. Uh, Plenty to talk about. Plenty to talk about. Obviously, congratulating Jasprit Bumrah and Sanjana Ganeshan for a long and happy life together. But the special today will be the Kolkata Test match. 20 years back, this particular day, the greatest test win in Indian history and perhaps the greatest test played. A lot of that, but afterward, Irfan Pathan tells us about the house at app. Take a look.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस ऐप पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ. हमें हरा और जीतो डबल कैश. Log on to houseapp.com and win real cash.
Welcome back. So first things first, very, very good comeback from India. Like we keep saying, and I've said this on Sports Today, if you have watched my shows, that this is a pattern now. And this team of doing, this kind of a spectacular comeback. And yet again, it was a debutant, a voice of a new India, a resurgent India, speaking out to the rest of the world. What an absolutely delightful innings from Ishan Kishan. What has helped him is the IPL. Chris Jordan, Jofra Archer, if you take a look at that English bowling lineup, Ben Stokes, all of them, Ishan Kishan has played in the IPL. And as a result, he was uninhibited. He was completely free. And like Rohit Sharma had told him, go and bat as freely as you possibly can, like you do for the Mumbai Indians. And tremendous to see Virat Kohli anchor the innings in the manner that he did. Slightly lucky, but you need that kind of luck. That edge, Joss Butler in normal days could have taken it. You know, Joss Butler would have sort of taken it, but that's the kind of luck you need. And thereafter, Virat, that straight six, the pull of Chris Jordan, some extraordinarily good shots. And do not forget the cameo from Rishabh Pant. That Rishabh Pant, the power that that fellow was generating, wow. The bowling was very good. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar and Shardul Thakur closed it out well. Washington Sundar bowled tight lines after he was dispatched first ball by Jason Roy. So really decent effort from India to keep them to 165. Women need to win the last one. I was having a chat with Mithali Raj. She's very disappointed after the home series defeat. Very understandable. But again, and I think this is as much to do with the way India went about the series in terms of selection. You have to have certain bowlers. You have to have a Shikha Pandey. You have to have an Ekta Bisht. You have to have maybe a Tanya Bhatia as well. Shikha Pandey, look at the way she has performed in domestic cricket. And these are critical selection choices that the Neetu David committee will have to look into going forward because the Indian 50 over team is a very good side. 270 was very good, but to be able to defend that is what you normally expect. But on a very good batting deck, South Africa, absolutely magical. First four batters getting 50s has never happened in the history of the women's game. So that's why you have to give credit to South Africa. Coming to other sports, I've already celebrated Bhavani Devi on my show yesterday. Once again, let me say this. The fact that we have a fencer in the Olympic Games is a massive, massive moment for Indian sport. Jasprit Bumrah getting married to Sanjana Ganeshan. Wish the two of them sorry, there was a telephone call. Yeah, sorry, there was a bit of a technical thing. Jasprit Bumrah getting married to Sanjana Ganeshan. Wish them a very, very happy and prosperous married life. And now, let me come to my special segment for today. 20 years back, this particular day in Kolkata at the Eden Gardens, India registered their greatest ever Test series win. perhaps the greatest test match played in the annals of world cricket forever. It was my first game in the Eden Gardens press box. I've been watching cricket at Eden Gardens since I was 3. The first test match I watched was the 1981 series against England. But in the press box, I was working on my DPhil and had come back to India. So this was my first test match in the press box at Eden Gardens, and fond memories. Day one, 252 for 4, and Australia completely in control. And thereafter, Harbhajan Singh, 5, 6, and 7. And all of Eden Gardens, I mean, you can still visualize, this is a kind of a personal recollection. All of Eden Gardens erupted, erupted like a volcano. Wow. I mean, that kind of support, intensity, passion from the crowd, phenomenal, phenomenal. Australia 252 for 7, but thereafter that howler from umpire Bansal. Today's day, when we have referrals, obviously it would have been declared out. Steve Waugh farming the strike, getting Australia to 445. Incredibly good. And when you think that the context is India had been battered and sort of bruised and beaten in Mumbai in 3.5 days, you tend to think 445 is more than enough to make it 17 on the trot for Australia, the greatest team of all time, and a world record. 16 test matches they had won on the trot. And then on the, this rather, let's put it this way, the writing on the wall sort of thing was deepened when India was 128 for 8 at the end of day 2. And I remember walking out of Eden Gardens, walking right in front of Raj Bhavan towards Dharamtala, and then turning right on Central Avenue. All of us, I mean, there was a group of journalists walking back, and we were cursing the Indian team. Some of us were saying, we will not come back tomorrow. There's no point. It's another 3-day test match. What is the point? And I was like, this is my first test in the media box. I'll come, but it's all gone. We were down in the dumps, 128 for 8. Day 3, bit of a fight back. VVS Lakshman scoring that very good 59 and was the last man out. And that's where it all started. Lakshman went back, and I have actually interviewed VVS multiple times. This show is dedicated to Harbhajan Singh and VVS Lakshman. VVS and I have sat right in front of the Eden Gardens dressing room, and we have spoken for hours when I was working on my book, 11 Gods and a Billion Indians. These two are very close friends of mine, Harbhajan Singh and VVS Lakshman. We have done some 50 to 100 shows together, maybe more with Harbhajan Singh. With VVS, many, many, many shows. So VVS, he was recollecting those moments for me, sitting right in front of the dressing room. He was telling me that, he had not even opened his pads when he was told that he's going in at number 3. And if you ask Sourav Ganguly, you go and ask Sourav Ganguly and tell him, Sourav, what about that test match? And he will do this. Fate. And he will look up heavens. It actually was a miracle. It was actually a miraculous test match, and dreams do come true. What an incredible, incredible second innings. The tweak happened. John Wright obviously played a part. VVS Lakshman 3, Rahul Dravid at 5. And then obviously you got to give credit to the opening batsmen, Shiv Sundar Das and Sadagopan Ramesh. They sort of played the new ball out. And thereafter, Lakshman came in. Sachin Tendulkar got out India 110 odd for 3. Sachin once again gone, not many runs scored, everything gone for India. And then that revival. First, Sourav Ganguly and VVS Lakshman, and finally, VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid. We did not lose a single wicket on day 4, 335 runs. Ask VVS and he will tell you that both he and Rahul were on drips. They were actually on drips at the end of the day. Their body had lost so much fluid. Their body had lost so much salt that they were on drips right in front of the dressing room. They were lying down in sort of make-do beds, and they were on drips at the end of day 4. And you go ask Sourav Ganguly, and he will tell you the moment, each partnership, each session was being played out, and they were gaining in confidence. They were not changing seats. They were doing sort of every kind of superstition was being followed, and the confidence had started to grow. And as the partnership flourished, Eden Gardens was getting full, chock-a-block. Morning of day 5, we kept saying, will India declare? When will India declare? When will Sourav declare? And that happened. Before going to tea, India dropped Steve Waugh. And it was like, okay, you've dropped the World Cup like a statement. But post tea, Steve Waugh gone, Australia going into tea with 7 wickets still in hand, and Harbhajan Singh alone perhaps couldn't have done it. That's when Saurav Ganguly went to Sachin Tendulkar. You go and ask Sachin, and Sachin will tell you one of his best dismissals was getting Shane Warne out with a googly. The ball pitched perfect and turned Shane Warne out to a googly. 3 important wickets, and he was the second highest wicket taker in the series, by the way, Sachin Tendulkar. Harbhajan Singh, highest, obviously 30 plus, and then it was Sachin Tendulkar with those 3 wickets of 5 overs. What a moment. And when Glenn McGrath was given out by umpire Bansal, the whole of Eden Gardens, 100,000 people erupted. And all of us in the press box, we had found a voice. Each of us, I mean, it was unbelievable. I can't sort of to try and give you exactly what happened. It was surreal scenes inside the press box as to what the Indian journalists were doing. It was one of the best, if not the best moment, if you cover sport, because post match fixing, sport needed that victory. Cricket needed that victory. You cannot replicate such a match. You cannot fix such a match. Can you replicate such events? Can you ever replicate such events in the annals of world sport? You can't. So it had given cricket a new lease of life and a new oxygen. And that evening, umpire Bansal, who was the man officiating in that particular test match, he entered a no entry lane in Calcutta. And as he entered the no entry lane in Calcutta, his driver, so the traffic constable manning that road, stopped the car. And the driver very sheepishly looked to umpire Bansal that mujhe pakad liya, aap kuch kahiye, kuch boliye. Umpire Bansal got out of the car door and looked at the traffic constable. And the traffic constable also looked at umpire Bansal and said, "Aap umpire the na?" So umpire Bansal was like, "Yes." So I mean, he's an umpire, right? So he said yes. So the traffic constable, and this is how we are in Calcutta and Bengal about our sport. And the traffic constable told umpire Bansal, "Today there is no entry, no one-way traffic for umpire Bansal. Sir, please go." And that's how it all ended. And umpire Bansal was like, "I was not Saurav, I was not Sachin, I was not VVS, I was not Bhaji, I was not Rahul. I was just the umpire." But that's how I was celebrated in Calcutta at the end of that test match. What stories! I can keep going on and on and on. Harbhajan Singh, absolute rock star. I interviewed Bhaju at the end of that test match, and I vividly remember, asked him, "So now what?" And he said, he had to get his sisters married. He was a young man from Punjab, was just breaking his teeth after a pretty turbulent career. He wanted to get his sisters married, and based on that series performance, he did do so. Harbhajan Singh, you're an absolute rock star. VVS Lakshman, what a character you are. You're an absolute legend of our game. Rahul Dravid, top stuff. Looking at the press box, 180, one of the best innings you have played. You have played many for India. Saurav Ganguly, as India's captain, you stamped your authority on the world game from that particular match. Had that not happened, maybe you would not have become the Saurav Ganguly, the captain Saurav Ganguly that we celebrate you for. And if you go and ask Steve Waugh on the other side, and I've interviewed Steve multiple times, it is somewhat like Clive Lloyd. I mean, given that match happened, Australia is also part of that. I mean, it was a sensational test match. Steve still feels. Some of the Australian guys will tell you that maybe he shouldn't have pushed India for a follow-on. But that's what history, forced him to do. What a great test match. I still have a lot of memories from that. In my museum, I have a lot of artifacts and memorabilia. So that test match, I can recollect piece by piece by piece for you. I will say this to end the show. That was the greatest cricket match in history. And I don't think there will ever be another cricket match which will be as intense, as pulsating, and as miraculous as this Kolkata test of 2001. Please subscribe to Sports Today. We will bring you several such shows celebrating cricket, celebrating Olympic sport and Indian cricket. And of course, tomorrow, the men's team plays. Very importantly, can they take that lead? The women's team, they need to win the last one. That's what I was telling Mitali. They need to win the last one. Home, every match counts. There's nothing called a dead rubber in international sport. I hope they do that. Please subscribe to Sports Today. Ring the notification bell. Support us. And thank you very much for watching this particular show. Thank you.